In this video we're going to tie a fly called the Lawson's Halfback Nymph. This is a PMD emerger. First thing we're going to do is start off with a 3769 or a 3761 nymph hook and some 14 Veevus PMD kind of yellow colored thread. And the first material I'm tying in here is some small copper wire. And the next material will be some pheasant tail, just a natural color. Going to take about 6-7 strands here. I'm going to tie these in by the tip right there at the back of the fly. Then I'm going to take my thread forward, about 2/3 of the way forward, or a third of the way back from the head. I'm just going to take that pheasant tail and just wrap a body forward with it. And I can trim out the excess. Now the first material the next material we're going to tie in is going to be some brown sparkle emerger yarn. I'm going to take about 10 or so fibers. Got to be real careful not to tie in too many of these. This fly is meant to be tied fairly sparse with the tail. I'm going to tie those in right on top of the shank. I'm going to pull those fibers right on top, and I'm going to take my wire and just capture those fibers and wrap forward kind of in a spiraling even pattern. Then you can capture the wire and spiral the wire out of there. Then you could trim your tail. I like the tail to be about half of the length of the body of the fly. And then I usually like to kind of rough up the tail, kink it, make it look like it's a beat up shuck from a little nymph. Now we're ready for our next material, which is going to be some bleached deer hair. I'm going to take a fairly generous clump here. I'm going to trim the butt ends of these so they're nice and even. Makes it a little better tie-in to have a nice blunt edge. I'm just going to take those and tie those in right on top of the shank of the hook. Now we're ready for the dubbing. And for this I'm going to use a Superfine dubbing in a PMD color. I'm just going to take a little bit of that and get it started on my thread. We want to build a fairly round thorax, but you want to make sure that you add the dubbing just a little bit at a time so that you just don't end up with one big giant pile of dubbing going on a single turn. So just a little bit at a time. I do it in little stages, kind of building up that roundish profile that we're looking for on the thorax. And once I have my little round ball, I'm going to take all that deer hair, pull it up over the top, and capture it with a wrap of thread. And I'll take a few wraps kind of over the top of it and underneath it, just to make sure it's nice and secure. Then you can get in and trim out that deer hair. Then we're going to take a little bit of the dubbing again. We're just going to finish off the head of the fly. I'll just kind of cover up any of those deer hair fibers. Just take a tiny bit of dubbing and coat the thread with it. That's about all you really need to finish off the head of the fly. Then I will take my whip finish right under all of that. You have a finished little Lawson's Halfback Nymph.